moves us into the action agenda, starting with actions as necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. At this time, I'll entertain any motions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve selected employment items Exhibit A.
All in favor? And the motion carries 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve contractual matter regarding the Dutch Fork Elementary School, Exhibit C and D.
All in favor?
Can we have discussion?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so I apologize because I don't get the printed board packet. I try to save paper. Ms. Barnhart, would you mind kind of recapping what C and D are for the public?
Ms. Huddle, what did you say?
I'm just asking her or someone with the book to recap what these items are for the public. Okay, thank you. I'll borrow the book. Okay, so C is to amend the architect's contract to raise the estimated construction cost from $34 million to $58,740,000. Is that correct, Dr. Ross?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Okay, so Exhibit C is an amended contract with the architect to change the estimated total price from $34 million to $58,740,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Exhibit D is to increase the architect's fee by $557,458 to redesign the school to the site, because the site is much more expensive to build a school on now, correct?
It is to cover the cost due to the challenges with that site.
Okay. So I just want to make sure, I don't like voting on things this important without the public knowing what we're voting on.
But it's that, and
Okay.
to also include the alternate for an auditorium, and then the design work if we need additional classrooms.
So they would also update the design to add 10 optional classrooms and an auditorium.
It would be an alt-add, and that would all, as we got the information back from the bidding process, we either choose to accept it or not.
Okay. So a large part of what's driving, so the total in front of us today is to increase potentially, likely, the price of the school by 34 to 58 is 24 million, 24.7 million, correct? Did I get that right? 34 million to 58,740,000. Okay. So to increase the price of the school by 24 million, and then another $500,000 at least for the architect.
And that's the projections from the cost consultant that we received, their numbers. We do have some numbers in from our construction manager, which are substantially lower.
Okay. Do you have that document? That was
And
passed?
Caleb, is all that accurate? Are we explaining this properly? I'm talking to Caleb, to the public. Not to put you on the spot, but since you talked to us in executive session, I just also want to make sure that all this is being explained properly. We got it right?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, I also, and I know this kind of put you on the spot, but this is the document that was sent around by the person that participated in public. And it does appear that we bought these plans, and there's a plan in here, and I, as a board member, wasn't aware of that. So, in your opinion, is this something that we need to look into? Did we already buy the rights to these plans? Because it does show, it's the same plan. and or virtually, and it does show that it was purchased for, it was adjusted at, I think, $500,000, and we'd already bought it.
While you're looking at that, I do believe that I remember a conversation, maybe not with all of the current board members, but we did talk about how we have plans for an elementary school that we already own.
Is
But
that
I'm not-
plans or a site concept?
This is the actual contract, and it does show that we paid $550,000. There's several documents in here, but to adapt the River Springs plan for Oak Point. And the site plan, it's the same architect, I'm not gonna say it's identical, but I visited these schools and it seems like it's extremely close. I just wonder if we're way overpaying for this, if we already bought the rights to the plan. And if we could adapt it for $550,000 for Oak Point, why is it costing us $3 million to do it for a new Dutch Fork Elementary? And that may be a Caleb question, Mr. Reiser question.
Well, what I'm unsure about is whether or not the plans for 500,000 is a concept, is it schematic design, is it design development, or the proposed contract going from $2.5 to $3 million for the new Dutch Fork Elementary includes full-on construction documents and construction administration. So a comparison of, legally of the contract and what was purchased and the rights related, to what was purchased and what could be used after would have to be evaluated. So.
Okay, thanks. All right, so I would just like the board to consider some alternatives. I'm just going to put this out here for discussion, but the whole reason this school is going for $34 million to $58 million is the land. And I know we looked at other land, but I know we looked at some that was available, but we thought it was too expensive. Maybe it wasn't when we look at this. I mean, $24 million, and maybe that's not all of it, but I know it's at least $17 million of it is to fix the land. So, I think one alternative is to give up on this land.
Point of order. The agenda item is for approval of the contract for a plan that's already been made to execute a contract. So discussion of another plan is not on the agenda. It doesn't,
It is very much related to this, do you continue to modify a contract or do you cut bait? I think it's very much
I don't agree.
I think for the public's concern and all of ours, I think we need to look and be very transparent about what we discuss in the executive session. So I'll just waive those rights so that everybody will know what we're talking about. At any point, correct me, Caleb or Alan, where I'm incorrect, or Dr. Gary. Why are we doing these contracts? I think what's important to understand is that the contractual matters that we're doing with is the price of this is not 58. That's the budget, correct? So the maximum price that we're thinking is 58 million, but that's not the price of the project. We won't know the price of the project until we get to bidding, correct? But the max that we're looking at is 58 because we're doing a design bid build. This is not a GMP project, correct? Also, for the site package, the max price was 17 million, but that's the max budget.
Correct.
But that's not the price of the project, correct?
Correct.
We won't know the price of the project until we get the bidding because this is a design bid build, correct?
Correct.
Let's start with why. Why are we doing this? US 76 will be expanded. That project is to start this month, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir.
When it expands, you can see in front of our current Dutch Fork Elementary School, it's going to have major operational impacts into it, correct?
Yes, sir.
So students will not be able to operate safely on this campus for too long. Is that correct?
Correct.
That was our evaluation. Rezoning them into this building would not be operational sufficient. And as we heard, just moving them into another school without consideration of IEPs and 504 plans and student needs, we just heard doing that would be reckless. As a result, we can see the impact of these stakes in terms of with the right-of-way that we've already signed, these right-of-ways, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this will happen to our property, correct? We have went forth with movements to look at egress, but this red line is approximately the amount of front yard that we're going to be losing on the current Dutch Fork Elementary. Over 2 years ago, we began the process of looking at how could we put these students in a safer location. That 2-year or 2.5-year process looked at a lot of sites, going all the way back to June 10th, 2024, when we started to inform the board of this process in executive session. In that, we decided we wanted to put the new school, the new Dutch Fork, in the current Dutch Fork attendance zone. Operationally, we found no use of putting it in an attendance zone of another school surrounding it. And I think looking at transportation patterns, looking at movement, and looking at where the majority of the students in the Dutch Fork attendance zone attend school, we decided that we needed to put it into Dutch Fork, correct? At that time, when we looked at the Dutch Fork existing attendance zone, we could locate 6 sites that had the acreage that you should put an elementary school. It is safe to say that this green zone that is Dutch Fork Elementary's current attendance zone is kind of maxed out on places that we can get acreage. In terms of office or school facilities, do you know the minimum acreage that we would need in order to build an elementary school?
So they no longer have a current minimum, but there are some minimums with road frontage, access to the property. So you have to have a certain amount of actual road frontage for your car rider loop and then your bus loop.
In our assessment, we use our realtors to help us find such spots. Option 1, right next to Dutch Fork Elementary School, was not for sale. Option 2 is now owned by Gray Collegiate, and that's where they're building. So that left us with options 3, 4, 5, and 6, correct?
Yes, sir.
If we look at option 3, that was $4 million to get 22 acres of land.
Yes, sir.
That $4 million, would that have met the DOT standard for a building?
No, sir.
So we would have bought a land for $4 million, but we would not be able to build a school on that per DOT and the Office of School Facilities. So we passed on that property. The next property was 108 acres for $10 million, correct?
Yes, sir.
We would have spent $10 million on that, but we had a drop-off of over 50 feet in elevation. So we would have still needed a considerable site package for 50 feet of different elevations, plus we had major flooding issues on that, which site package would have increased because we would have had to remove so much water to dry that land out, correct?
Yes, sir.
So $10 million just for the land, and we still not have addressed this considerable site package to put a school on that. So we looked at the next one, North Wingate, which was also $4 million. But that also had a larger drop-off than the 50-foot. So again, major topography issues and also water issues that had to be mitigated. It's safe to say that the site package for this site would have been also more expensive to that. So that leads us to our last piece, which it has the least elevation issues, the lowest elevation issues, the lowest water issues, and the best land in terms of lines of sight for DOT.
Yes, sir.
This is the best option that we have of all 6 sites and the least expensive to develop. Is that statement true? The
Yes.
least expensive to develop?
It is.
So if it's the least expensive to develop, we work with 5 different properties and 4 different owners to pull this together to get the least expensive to develop. I don't know how this $17 million to develop would be the maximum cost.
Yes, sir.
But because it's design bid, it will go to the lowest bid who's qualified to develop this site.
Correct, and we're seeing numbers go down. So as of Friday, construction manager, and he does work across the entire state and with site packages, and they build schools. He's seeing that the numbers, his estimate right now is below 12 million.
Any site any building we put on the site must be updated to what codes in terms of building codes?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
The building codes of this. It's safe to say that you would have to design the building to the building codes of today.
It has to
correct?
be the current codes.
So as a result, we have begun to build to today's building codes on the least expensive site. We are asking for the max prices to be considered. We will fall under those prices. But to say what the price is, it is incorrect. We're asking for the budget to expand. We do not know what the price or the cost of these. Right now, we're stuck in design development. We've already finished these stages here. This allows us to get to what's called CD or construction documents. Once we can get to construction documents, then we would go out to bid. What happens at the bidding stage?
The bidding stage is, we do like a pre-qualification, and then, all the contractors are there, and they all kind of see who's all going to be bidding. And the intent of that is to make sure we have the qualified contractors, but then also they can see who's all bidding to help drive that price lower.
To help drive that price down. So now the public knows what we talked about in executive session. The administration asked, let us move to construction documents so we can bid this price down to see what it actually costs. But the budget, the estimated budget, is what we're saying is up to $58 million. But the cost to design that site package, and I think that was was it $550,000, correct? Now, is there any site, this last question I asked Madam Chair, any site that does not need a site package?
Everything in this area is going to have a site package. Even if you had just flat land, you're still going to have some sort of a site package, just due to the natural lay of the Dutch Fork area. You see a lot of hills and little valleys and swells and such. So,
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Knotts. Ms. Hull, you had one more question before we vote?
Well, I got interrupted. I never got to finish. So I would just ask this board to look at some alternatives. I realize we looked at land before, but maybe new things have come on the market. Another option is to build a two-story school. I had a D5 graduate that works in school construction, architecture and construction in North Carolina that follows us contact me and say, have y'all looked at building, change it, scrap your plans, because if you build a two-story school, your site preparation will be, in her estimate, probably half of what we're looking at because of literally the floor, the space that you're siting. And this is what she does for a living. She said, if I were y'all, I would look at doing a two-story school instead of a one. And our last elementary was a two-story school. Lexington 1 has recently done a very nice two-story school. I would also ask us to look, if you look in your booklet that's on your desk and you turn to page 129 and 130, and these are their school capacity numbers, okay? If you add up the enrollment in this book, which is our audited, and our auditors are here, audited financial statements, so the good numbers, and you add up the enrollment for Oak Point, River Springs, and Dutch Fork, it's 1159, and it's actually lower now, I think. This is last year's number. If you look at the capacity of just Oak Point and River Springs and add them together, it's 1681. So you could move all of the children and the staff, and for the IEP kids, they're gonna have to move anyway. The building's gonna be totally different, the new Dutch Fork from the old Dutch Fork. So they're gonna have to change buildings anyway, move the staff with them, and there would still be 500 extra spaces. I know that's not all, we don't like to jam them up, but actually it still leaves 31% capacity. So we could do that and not spend this money. We had presentations tonight from press boxes and video boards and all that. The Chapin press box cost over $8 million, and prices have done nothing but go up. This is a lot of money, and one analogy is, it's like you wanted to build a $200,000 house, you bought a $20,000 lot, and then the builder comes to you and says, you know what, it's gonna cost me $100,000, cost you $100,000 to fix the lot so we can build a house. I don't know about y'all, but I would find another place to build a house. Or I would move in with somebody. But I just think this is a lot of money, and the more money we spend on this, the less money we're going to have for press boxes and scoreboards and roofs and all the other priorities.
Go ahead.
Dr. Ross, is that statement true? The more money we spend on this, the less we'll have for press boxes and scoreboards?
It would be illegal to spend this money on press boxes
Thank you.
and scoreboard.
Let me just clarify, I never proposed spending bond referendum money on something that's not in the bond referendum. That was done in 2008. I don't think this board's gonna do that. What I'm saying is, if we go over here, unless we can make it up somewhere else, the money's gonna have to come from somewhere. So if we wanna finish all these projects in the bond referendum, unless we make this money up somewhere else, it's gonna have to come out of other capital that could be used for press boxes, scoreboards, roofs, et cetera.
So to date, we've, you know, through the wings at Lake Murray and Chapin Elementary, we are about $4 million under budget for that. So I think the board knows I'm a pretty good negotiator. Dr. Ross calls me his
Yes,
nosy
you are.
machine.
Yes, you are.
So I believe that if I continue the process of working through this and getting those deals done, that we will be able to get everything under the bond referendum. So we got $4 million already to that. So we still have some more things that we're working through, and we're just going to keep, you know, driving those savings in.
Thank you, Mr. Knotts. We have a motion on the floor, and it's already been properly second. All those in favor of executive session item D, contractual matters regarding the new Dutch Fork Elementary? All those opposed? And the motion carries 4-3. Do I have any other motions from executive
I'd like to make
session?
a motion to approve the contractual matter regarding the Lexington County easement for the corridor improvement on Columbia Avenue as seen in Exhibit E.
All in favor? And the motion carries 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion, yes, to
Yeah.
approve contractual matter regarding the Lexington County sewer easement and the City of Columbia water easement for the new Student Center cafeteria at Irmo High School as seen in Exhibit F.
All those in favor? And the motion carries 7-0.
Make a motion to approve the contractual matter regarding the Chapin High School auditorium as seen in Exhibit G.
All in favor?
I would like to amend the motion
Okay.
to require board approval for any change in capacity greater than 10% over the projected, over or under capacity of the projected 250-seat auditorium.
I thought it was 500.
I'm sorry, 500. It's late. So let me rephrase that. I move to amend the motion to require board approval if capacity is changed by more than 10% above or below the designed 500-seat auditorium.
Second.
Mr. Satterfield?
I can ask questions now?
Yes, you
Okay.
can.
Mr. McGarry, you might be able to answer. I know I asked you about the capacity at Dutch Fork, which is about 450, you said. Do we know, and we asked about, did I ask you about Irmo? What
No.
Irmo's is?
You didn't.
What
you
is-
didn't.
What is Irmo's? Do we know?
I'm not sure about Irmo, Mr. Knotts. You know Irmo?
Alan earning his paycheck tonight.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Irmo's capacity for their auditorium.
Do you happen to
You
know
know,
it?
any idea? Is it, it feels like it's bigger than Dutch Fork's. And much
You know,
bigger.
I want to say maybe 600 seats or
Maybe
somewhere in
600.
that ballpark-ish, 650.
So right now, the design or in the referendum, it's for 350?
For Chapin, we're 500 in the referendum.
And it didn't say in the referendum, I don't think, how many seats, did it?
Well, we were designing, and correct me if I'm wrong, they wanted to have a place for orchestra concerts, band concerts, and things of that nature, correct?
Correct. Performances that they could seat by class and student body in.
In the student body, that's right.
Okay, I thought in our previous discussion, we talked about it being like at 350, which would be really crazy too small. But Irmo, you say say it again now?
I believe it's 600, 650-ish, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay. And you're recommending what, Ms.?
I just want the board to vote if it changes, because we heard that the Dutch Fork Elementary kind of bounced around, and I don't know that we were all aware of it. So just if I just don't want to have happen what happened before. I wasn't on the board, but I heard Chapin was supposed to get a real auditorium and ended up with the black box that seats far fewer. And so just if it's going to drop or change more than 10%, it just comes back to us, so everybody gets to hear it and everybody knows.
Well, just so you know, they've always had the black box. Yeah, it's not, yeah. So your motion, if right now it's at 500
Yes.
capacity, the
Correct,
motion for the
500.
referendum is 500.
Correct.
And so you're asking for it to be able to go up if.
Up to 550 or down to 450? That's 10%.
I want it to go down.
Okay, well then, a modify, you can
So
amend
if it goes over 550, she wants it to come back to the board. That's the ask, right?
Because when we look at the seating, and you have, because it's going to have fixed seating and retractable seating, it may
Right.
go to 502, 512, or 492 or something like that, depending on the length and everything of the seating. So
Yeah.
it may not, for everything to be symmetrical.
How did we come to the number? I mean, if the Dutch Fork and Irmo are so different, how did we come to the number we got to?
Got confirmation Irmo has 630, it hold an additional 20 with additional seats that came in. Alan, I think, can you talk through the numbers for Chapin?
I think the numbers were, they wanted to be able to see, at least a full class. I think 350 would be way too small for that.
Well, I'm just thinking if you had to get a full class in there for a class meeting, a senior class meeting or something along those lines, you need to make sure. And for performances, you want to make sure. And the Chapin community is all you got to do is have a curriculum meeting at the elementary school, and you can't hardly get through Old Bush River Road. But your motion is if it should go up, we should approve it, or go down, we should approve
Yeah,
it.
I'm more worried about down. I just would hate to see it shrink and people not know
Why
about
would it go down?
To make the budget, because that's
To
what
save the
happened with
budget?
Dutch Fork Elementary. It went down and then went back up.
All right, we have an amendment to the motion on the floor. All those in favor of the amendment?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
I'm just trying to.
Hurry up.
I thank you. I'm just trying to clear the air. I want to go home too. If it's at 500 right now, what would be the rationale for changing? How would that possibly? Somebody come and say, I want to make it bigger, or I want to make it smaller. I'm trying to understand. It's not like it's a press box and we say, oh, we built the press
It
box too
happens
small.
sometimes to try to meet a budget. Sometimes like the estimate will come back over what we have to budget, and so someone will say, well, let's make it smaller. I mean, what's the harm?
So
There's no-
in essence, we're only looking at making it smaller to stay within budget.
Well, that's
We're
my
not really looking
concern.
at making it larger.
I don't care if it gets bigger, as long as it stays in budget.
All right. Thank you.
All those in favor of the amendment to the motion, which is to allow it to come back to us if it's going to be over 550 seats. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries 4-3. That moves us to,
The main motion.
excuse me? Oh, yes.
The main motion was to approve the contractual matter regarding the Chapin High School auditorium as seen in
Sorry.
Exhibit G.
All those in favor? And the motion carries 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve contractual matter regarding construction and access easements for the property at 1400 Kennerly Road as seen in Exhibit H.
All those in favor? And the motion carries 7-0.
And I'd like to make a motion that this board approve the full and complete release resolving the Hefner lawsuit, and that the board chair be empowered to sign the release on behalf of this board.
All those in favor? And the motion carries 7-0. That ends the action agenda and moves us to, I'm sorry. Ooh. That ends matters discussed in executive session and moves us to number 14 on the action agenda, approval of middle school locally board approved course.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the middle school locally board approved courses only, CRMS 2026 to 2027. Number 1, the advancement via determination, AVID elective course, and number 2, the innovators workshop as seen in Exhibit K.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? And the motion carries 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the locally board approved course for honors course JROTC Navy and Air Force Honors Framework as seen in Exhibit L.
Second.
All in favor? And the motion carries 7-0.
Make a motion to approve the second and final reading of proposed revisions to board policy GBEB staff conduct as seen in Exhibit M.
Second.
Mr. Satterfield.
I'd like to make a motion, Ms. Huddle, help me with this. I'd like to make a motion to put this off for, to re-examine this policy and have a third reading for final vote.
I'll second, yeah.
Anybody want me to explain?
Yeah, now you get to explain. You got a second.
Okay, all right. I wrote some notes down. I was looking at the previous board policy with regards to staff conduct. And I'm assuming that's all staff conduct, everybody, including board members and everybody. It addressed everything. I thought it would address everything. Probably the only thing that maybe needed a little attention because of the change in times is something to do with social media. I know that that's been an issue, I guess, recently in most parts of the country. But the motion that's been proposed is very redundant. I mean, it talks about the things that are specific, like you're not supposed to be drinking or harming other people, you can't have sex with students, and things that are just common sense, black and white issues. Did I say that wrong, Ms. Huddle? Well, it's in the policy, so I'm just sharing that. But where it's written with regards to the personal life of an employee, it says, including the employee's personal use of district-issued and non-district-issued electronic equipment inside and outside of working hours, such as through social networking sites, social media, and personal portrayal on the internet, will be the concern and warrant of the board if it impairs the employee's ability to effectively perform his or her jobs or it violates state, federal, local, or contractual agreements. That's pretty specific. It should end right there, but it doesn't. Now it gets, for some reason, we added more to it, which makes it very gray. And in this, I hate to use the word political, but this political world we live in, and the nature of all that goes on with social media, which nobody's going to ever get a handle on. I mean, I think it should stop right there. I would say that. But the part that, to me, is very redundant, it says, it goes on to say, employee social media use has the potential to result in disruption of school work environment or impair the efficiency of the school workplace. As such, the board expects employees to ensure all their conduct, communication, including those associated with their social media, do not disrupt school work environment or impair the efficiency of the school workplace. And then there's a sentence in there I'm okay with leaving, but then it says unprofessional conduct may be subject to employee disciplinary actions consistent with state, federal law. In other words, I would like for somebody, anybody on the board, since this is board policy and we're approving this, to explain to me, do not disrupt the school work environment or impair the efficiency of the school workplace. Somebody tell me give me an example of something that somebody posts on social media or some comment that is made where how you would apply to that. I just don't understand it. I think it's an attempt, and this was first, when did we first present this, Dr. Ross? These changes?
I think this is second reading, so we had first reading at the last board meeting before the storm, and then we had discussion prior to that.
I just think that this thing is really long, and if you all had a copy of this, you could see that it looks like a teacher graded my paper, an essay paper in school, because there's a lot of stuff that's been marked through. Half of it's been marked through, been taken out because of redundancy or things that are ambiguous and that just don't make sense. There is clarity in the first part of it, the first paragraph, the second paragraph, the third, the fourth, but when it gets to that part where it impairs the efficiency, that's up to interpretation. Somebody could say, well, a staff member, said something on social media and somebody saw that, and so the parent comes and contacts a board member, and then, how do you prove efficiency in the workplace? I understand if it can cause a disruption in school, a major disruption, but we've addressed that in there. So I just, and if you go on to the rest of it, it makes perfect sense about, harassment and, Title IX and, again, fighting, being absent without approval, refusal to follow. Those things are pretty black and white. I think it's black and white, and I know because of social media in today's world, it should be addressed. I don't have a problem with that. But I would rather say with something that is black and white and concrete and not get into the haziness of things because, we just had the Teacher of the Year talk about how much support she gets and how we support teachers. And we have had comments on our budget workshop. We talked about that very much thing about we should be doing everything to support teachers. But I think this sends a message that says, Big Brother's watching, and it's just too, to me, it's just too gray. So those are my comments. I appreciate any other comments.
Ms. Snipes, I'd
Ms.
like
Hubbard.
to amend the amendment to
Okay.
say, and get legal advice.
Okay.
Because I think that would answer, and I don't know if I got a second.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
Because I think that might help answer, because I recall, because it's been a while, but there was, I think there was advice given about what you just asked, and I think maybe we just need to hear it again, because it's been a while.
Well, I just think that, and you have to remember this too, it doesn't make sense to have a policy if you need a lawyer to interpret it. I mean, if teachers, how can you ask a teacher or a custodian or a cafeteria lady, anybody that works in the school, to adhere to a policy if you need a lawyer to tell you what it says? That just doesn't make any sense. And I'm very low on the totem pole when it comes to IQ. I admit it. But the point being is pretty clear, and that is that we ought to be very clear on our board policies with regards to interpretation. And this is an attempt to address issues that are out there in social media. I'm not a fan of social media. I'm not a fan at all. But I think we ought to have a little more clarity with it. So thank you. Get the legal advice, and I hope that also that Dr. Ross, you and your staff will look at that too and just sort of make it a little more concise so it's not so ambiguous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satterfield and Ms. Huddle. So we have a motion on the, I'm sorry.
He had his hand up first.
I'm so sorry.
I just want to ask, Ms. Cohen, do you have any insight as to why that language is in there?
It's my understanding that this was reviewed with one of the attorneys to develop the policy, and that maybe revisiting to get clarity would be appropriate.
I was going to speak to that. My understanding was a lot of these revisions were done by recommended by Ms. Mahoney in reference to, specifically to reference case law to help clarify the issues in adjudication down the road. and that's why they're written the way they are. I assume Ms. Mahoney's not here anymore with us tonight? We can't knock this out real quick?
No, he's not here.
But that's my understanding is why it was written the way it is because she specifically made these recommendations based on case law, which she's citing at the end of the policy. So, yeah, that's probably,
Yeah, well, thank you for
thank
that.
you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Let me just respond to him. Thank you for that. I understand that, too. It's just that it was drafted and it was reviewed by the attorneys the first time, and half of it's marked out now because it's just so redundant. And again, case law or not, I mean, everything else in there is pretty black and white and easy to understand and follow. And so I just think I don't like redundancy. I like it, make it short and concise. And so that's my reason. Thank you. Thank you, though, Mr. Scully, for the input.
At the next meeting? Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to defer this to a third reading with legal advice.
no, but the first amendment, we got to amend the motion.
I did.
She
I think
did.
you have to do
We've got to
the
vote on it.
Second Amendment first to get legal advice. And then you have to vote to hold it to a third reading.
I thought you were amending, I thought you had the same motion, but just added legal.
Okay, well, you want to rephrase it? That would make it simpler,
Yes.
honestly. Sorry.
Yeah, share the motion, thank you.
Okay, my original motion is that I would like to defer this to a third reading after getting legal advice
Second.
and have the superintendent staff look over this and brainstorm and make it a little more concise. Thank you.
All in favor? And the motion carries 7-0. And takes us back to, just that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the district's realtor listing for 2025-2026 as seen in Exhibit N.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? And the motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the letter of support for Growing Hope grant application as seen in Exhibit O.
That's been, so I'll explain this really quickly. So the district is already supporting Growing Hope. They reached out and asked for board support. To be clear, the district doesn't need our support, but I thought it was a good effort for us to put our support behind because it does address a need in our district. There are a significant number of students who enter foster care, and without placement options, they usually have to stay somewhere outside of the district, which just creates a barrier. And so they are working with the district to identify basically host families that would be willing to foster so that the kids can stay in their designated school without having to, travel across town. So I would like the board to consider just giving a letter of support to that program. The motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor? Thank you, and the motion carries 7-0.
Make a motion to approve A&E services for the feasibility and cost estimates for middle school co-curricular and extracurricular facilities and inclusive playgrounds.
All
I
those
would
in
like to amend the motion.
Yes, ma'am.
To only get feasibility and cost estimates to repair existing playgrounds, create inclusive playgrounds, and create middle school playgrounds where none currently exist.
So, well, first, let me see if you get a second before I ask the question.
Do I get a
Second.
Okay, I get to explain. So it would be everything except, I'm not even sure honestly what's in co-curricular and extracurricular, but the artist renderings we got showed a middle school football field with stands and lights. And we're probably gonna be over budget on the Dutch Fork Elementary, And again, we've got people wanting press boxes and everything, and to me, we need to get to item number 23. We need to know the McMillan, Paston Smith deficiencies we haven't corrected yet. And we need to get to a review of our capital budget stuff before we start even talking about major expenditures, having staff members issue RFPs, review RFPs, interview people. I just think we're really putting the cart before the horse. It's our fiscal responsibility to make sure we fix what's broken first, and we go by goals that we came up with. And a new football field for middle school with lights and stands, I don't know where it fits on here, but I don't think it's health, safety, and security or building envelope and structure.
Can I ask a question just for clarification?
Yep.
In those packets you were talking about, I mean, there were very large things for almost entire sports complexes for the middle schools. But then we were also in the discussion when it comes to the sixth grade recess areas that we did the study on the fifth graders just to kind of find out what they were looking for. So in this, is the A&E services request for both the, like Ms. Huddle stated, the giant sports facilities, or simply just for the areas that were pointed out in the middle schools to where they need to be worked on for their research or recess purposes?
Thank you for asking. I will answer it, so you can come to the podium here. Extracurricular and co-curricular. Co-curricular things that happens with, so let's say band, happens in the class and outside of class, and extracurricular would be just athletic events in the middle school. I'll go through this really quickly. Very quickly, Madam Chair. But I think when we talk about this, it's all students, right? And there's a power and play that we talked about. The kids don't get outside much. And really, it's up to schools. You think 1 in 10 parents say their young child go outside once a week or less. And for me, it was every day. And there's a power in play. And so what does play do? It builds autonomy, it builds confidence, builds relationships. And when you think about when the kids are in school, if they're not getting it outside of school, we're trying to invest it in inside of school. And so Peter Gray is a well-known psychologist that talks about the power of play. So yes, when we think about play, we think about playgrounds, and we're already doing that within our MPS report. We're already looking at existing playgrounds. In fact, fall surfaces. And we're making a lot of improvement on that. We still got a lot to go. You've approved this in capital, but we're making headway when it comes to our current playgrounds. What we're talking about is middle school and high school where we have not. Those have playgrounds as well. We think about playgrounds as only for elementary, but all kids need play. So if you remember back in August is when this started, when the young girl asked, could you do something about our resource equipment? I responded that we would look into it. That was back in August. I brought it to the board to move forward, and asked that we do surveys. So we went back and talked to not just the students, but talking to the spaces that they wanted to talk about. This is their current site, right? This is where they are playing, and this is what that young lady wrote us about, what she wanted improvement on for her and her classmates. When we say co-curricular, that's everything from recess to what they do during school. And this is what they have after school. As we move to the middle school feeder program, we're bringing more students onto this site, more athletics. We had a parent that talked about lacrosse. When will we do and not have his middle school student have to compete with a high school lacrosse student? So when we talked about these fields, it was about the excellence that Ms. Brooke has said. And I think that's probably where we disagree. I do go for excellence for our schools. This is not bond money. We couldn't spend bond money on this, but we wanted feasibility for Chapin Middle, which will be Spring Hill Middle. We talked about giving them the same thing, where we can have those middle school athletic events and co-curricular events and recess on their campus. Crossroads, you heard from Versa Irmo, it's been a long time since a lot of these things were touched. They were excellent in the 70s and 80s, but they need a refresh. And so, moving along, this is Irmo Middle that we talked about, and just different things that we could do for their play areas and play surfaces. So, there's land that we own, and we're looking for ways to improve that, that is more usable for the students at Crossroads Middle and Irmo Middle. Dutch Fork, as you see, this is their space. I mean, so when you say the motion is to look at their existing spaces, this is their existing space. It's the parking lot. And this is what they're doing during lunch in that space. And so we're saying just clean up this existing space. We feel like we can give the kids at Dutch Fork Middle School excellence with these pieces here. So when we asked 59 fifth graders, what do they want? This goes back to Ms. Barnhart's question. You look at the largest one. We want open field and green space. That's their number one thing. Followed by they want to climb on stuff and sports related equipment. That's in elementary school. We asked seventh graders. Same thing, open field and green space. However, their number two was sports-related equipment. So there's a difference. When I'm in elementary school, I want to climb on things. When I get to middle school, I want to play sports in open fields. So we're kind of looking at, this is for middle school. When you look at fifth graders, look at the difference of what they want. Fifth grade survey response. You asked us to ask the fifth graders. We asked 959 fifth graders back in September and October. And this is what they want to do, active play. We want a place to run, play sports and tag, followed by relaxing and sitting with friends. If you look at the seventh graders, you can see that there's a major shift. Seventh graders don't want to run as much. They want places where they can socialize. But then followed by places where they can run and do sports. So that's what went into the design of this. It was to renovate these middle school co-curricular and extracurricular spaces, have an inclusive playground place that we have for the Spring Eagles and like programs, but to look at the physical health needs of our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that'll be on these new sites. It is looking at excellence, but redesigning their current spaces, I feel, is insufficient.
Ms. Huddle?
Yeah, Dr. Ross, if you go back to the those charts, so the ones that blue, so is this A&E going to look at all of these items?
So what we're going to do is, it gives us the option of looking at a myriad of them, but what we're looking at is the high responses. So that's open field, green spaces, sports-related equipment. I think, and while we love our fifth graders, there are certain insurance issues that we have in terms of climbing spaces, so that would be limited, but it's looking at those high impact responses there.
Okay, so everything on here except the climbing structures?
I think leading out with the highest responses, and I think we're going to focus in on the 7th grade, just because we see such a difference between a 5th grade who's in elementary school and a 7th grader who's in middle school.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to get at is, I get that that's what they want for open space, but the diagrams are all football fields with stands and lights. And open space is just a field, and it's usually right there where they can go at recess. And it seems like we're focused on true football fields with stands and lights. And I guess that's and maybe I worded my amendment wrong and I can change it, but I'm just worried about spending money on football fields with stands and lights and not just a field that kids can run and play tag and all that and all these other things.
Dr. Ross, can you clarify that? And then I have 2 questions on the other side.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. You're looking at it, it's open fields, green space for games, but the second one is also sports-related equipment. And that's in both surveys, right? You can see that the number 2 thing they say is active play for running, sports, and tag. So you're looking at a conceptual is what we've done. we would like, we're not, and it's clear that this is A&E, so it doesn't make it happen, but it allows us to work to see what can we actually do with those spaces. We'd love to bring those students in. I mean, it's been August since they've asked for this. We would like to respond to them that we're making making headway on a space for them.
Mr. Scully, Mr. Bainum, and Ms. Barnhart.
Yeah, I just want to correct the record on Ms. Huddle's statement about this probably going to be over budget on Dutch Fork Elementary School. There is absolutely no basis for that statement or that conclusion at this point in time.
Point of order, you are
No,
not
ma'am.
supposed to talk
I've
to
got the
other
floor.
board members like
You
that. That is
you made
against
that
Robert's
statement,
Rules
and
of
it's
Order.
misleading,
Miss
and if you have to
Snipes,
make
it is
misleading
out of-
statements-
Out of
Mrs.
Robert's
Scully?
Rules of Order, you cannot address another board member.
Okay, well, you made that statement.
My mute all button's
No,
not working.
I didn't. It's
Yes,
in
you
the
did.
facts.
Read-
It's
You
voted
said it.
on it.
I'm sorry to the public. We're not,
No, well, she made a statement that is not true and is misleading,
You
and
just
I am
voted
not
on it.
going
It
to
went
allow
from
that.
34 to 58 million. Don't
There
tell
is
me it's
no
out,
basis.
how
it's
did
not
we
over
get back to
budget.
that? We're not even on that item
Because
anymore.
she brought it up, Ms. Snipes.
Basic
And if
math.
if
I
she
can do
is
basic
basing her
math.
recommendation for her motion on that false misleading statement.
That is not
then
true.
the board
You
That
need
we
to
members,
already
stop.
voted on?
in her comments for her justifying her motion, she made that statement.
It is over budget. Go look at the
It
bond
is not over
referendum and
budget. We are
add.
not even at a point, we just discussed tonight, we're not even at that point yet for
We
it to
just
be a budget.
approved it. Go
Mrs.
read the
Scully, do you
motion.
have, okay,
My point being, if a board member, if you need to make misleading statements to support your motion,
I
it's
didn't
probably
make a
not a
misleading
motion that
statement,
needs
so
to be
you need to
supported.
stop
That is
right
not-
now.
No, ma'am, that is
Stop
my-
right now. I did
Is
not
my
make a
mute all
misleading
button
You
not
statement.
made that
working?
statement.
We
Watch the
voted on
tape.
it. We voted to increase the
Watch the
budget.
tape. Motion.
Would you ask him to please stop referring to me?
According to
Then quit
Robert's
lying.
Rules of Order, she can request that you not speak to her directly. Are you done with your comment? Mr. Bainum?
Okay, I see the Dutch Fork process where the student athletes are going across the little walkway, so I kind of know how that works. So I do see the value in having some practice facilities over there behind. That's going to be, and I assume in that lower level where they go down the steps. Because I don't see it, the Crossroads, the new Crossroads Middle School in August and Irmo Elementary, for those middle school athletes, they have to use Irmo High School, correct? So they have to cross a major roadway? Or do they bus
You're
over?
more familiar with the Irmo C team, correct?
Yes, sir. So the Irmo C team does practice on the main field, and they have to cross, I can't remember the name of the road right
I
off the
can
top of my
speak
head.
to that because my son was on that
Westcott?
team. They would have to go across the road from Irmo
Yeah,
Middle.
Westcott. They have to cross Westcott.
And they used to go back behind the school, but now that all that construction's going on, they can't walk over there anymore, so.
So they have to go across Westcott, and then we actually have some steps to actually take them in front of the construction zone, and they have to walk all the way to the field.
Okay. So just as far as from, I'm a parent and I'm going to have a daughter over there this fall. Not sure what sport she's going to play, but just thinking for all parents, to eliminate the need to cross over traffic would be much better. Sometimes that's expensive. I don't like spending unnecessary money, but I want to make sure we're keeping our students safe. So I just want to explain my vote.
This also, if you don't mind if I could speak to this right here, we know that we have like softball cages over at Chapin High School. They're in pretty bad shape. We know we have challenges and opportunities for softball over at Dutch Fork High School. I know I get calls a good bit about, hey, where's the locker rooms for the girls at? Right now, they're having to utilize a storage room to change in. I think a part of this study right here would go and look at it. Right now, I think it's during soccer season, the females have to use there's a locker room in the field house. During the fall, it's the football players And then, you know, so there's always, you know, there's going to be some kind of crossover there, you know, and it's, I guess as we go through this study, they will help us figure out what do we actually need to do to prevent these issues, and what are some opportunities for us.
Ms. Barnhart?
Yeah, I think it's just the confusion where it lies with me personally is the kind of difference in the two topics that we're talking about. We're talking about the playgrounds, and then we're talking about the facilities. Now, kind of in the slideshow, I think that might be where other people are getting a little confused too, is because when we're talking about the open fields and the sports equipments, I mean, I love all of these ideas, and I know that it would be a great addition to all of our new middle schools. But at the same time, and a lot of the other stuff we're talking about is just for the 15 to 20 minutes of like the outdoor lunchtime recess. And so I'm not saying that they're not both important, because they are, but I think that's just kind of where the confusion lies when you're talking about either the 15 to 20 minutes in the middle of the day or the after-school type activities that the larger fields would be used for. I know they will be still used at the same time, but just in the way it's kind of presented, it's kind of, are we talking about the time where they go and play for a few minutes after lunch, or more so the things they're going to be doing for after-school programs?
You're talking about both. The students were writing about lunch specifically in middle school. I didn't show you pictures of what Chapin Middle School looks like during lunch, but that's kind of tough. They need other places to release. But also, as we look at after school as well, to Mr. Banner's point, you know, moving a lot of the students now in these areas to good spaces for extracurriculars.
Yeah, I want to throw out another consideration that you were talking about, you know, little nuances there, but what a lot of folks don't realize is that adds to the curriculum for physical education classes. If you go over right now, a lot of them are landlocked in the gym. I went and looked at Chapin Middle School, and there was 3 or 4 classes in there at once. There's no room for an activity. You can't play basketball, volleyball, you can't play soccer. I mean, it's just not that. Those fields, I was at Chapin Elementary School when I first started teaching, and we had this park school agreement, and they built all these fields behind the elementary school. If you go back there now, you'll see that they're slammed all the time. They're used constantly. But as a PE teacher, myself and the other fellow that I work with, we use those fields constantly. And we got kids outside exercising. So let's not kind of pigeonhole all this. And the other thing is, teachers would love it if the kids got out and ran and did something besides sitting on the curb at recess, because then they get rid of that extra energy. In middle schools, I mean, come on, if you've got a middle schooler, right? You know how that works. Try to get them out of the house. But the idea is that I think they'll be used a lot for curriculum matters as well. So that's a real plus. And I know we talked before about, and Mr. White came in, who was one of my former students also, but he came and shared about how this new park program to get more kids active. So I think there's a real positive side to this thing as well. And I know there's a lot of little nuances. You're going to have to have some playground equipment. You can't just have fields. I understand that. You need, you know, there's kids that are going to go on out and sit on a bench or sit around and
Ms.
talk.
Huddle, and then I'm gonna call for the vote.
I had a question. Why the lights and why the stands?
For extracurricular.
In the pictures, there's lights, big old lights, and stands. If this is for our recess and after school, why the lights and why the stands?
And I just want to be clear, we said in the motion is extracurricular and co-curricular. So co-curricular is during the day, extracurricular is after school.
Right, but, I mean, so is the vision that we're going to play games on these fields?
It will be game quality. If you can have a
So
C-team
we're going to have
game.
parents lining up wanting press boxes for middle school football fields? I'm dead serious.
No press
I think you made a point of order about what's appropriate. We're trying to do excellence for our students. We've been very open about what we're trying to do. We haven't presented that for middle schools.
So the
What we
pla-
have
I mean-
presented, what we have presented is before you, and the administration is asking for action.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, wait, I did have one.
Oh.
Just a question. Can we ask in the proposal to include the estimated annual maintenance? So we know not only what it's going to cost one time, but what it would cost to maintain. Dr. Ross, can we do that?
I mean, we have maintenance estimates that we do anyway. I mean,
So we're already maintaining fields now,
Right.
you know, whether, or I'll say turf. It may not be a field, it might be, you know, hills or
Okay.
whatever else.
So
So
when this
stuff is
com-
already being currently
So
maintained.
when this comes back, if I ask, how much is this going to cost to maintain, y'all will be able to
So
answer that for the
it's-
board?
It's a cost that we already have.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, I feel like I already forgot what, I feel like there was an amendment.
I'm going to withdraw my amendment.
Okay, sounds good. We have a motion, and has been properly second. All those in favor? All opposed? And the motion carries 6-1.
I can make a motion to approve A&E services for press boxes for Dutch Fork and Irmo High Schools and athletic scoreboards.
All those in favor?
Can we discuss?
Oh, yes, nobody said anything, so I wasn't sure. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yeah, just for the people at Dutch Fork and Irmo, I think you need updated press boxes. I have heartburn a little bit about the scoreboards because I feel like we're in like some kind of arms race. But I'm going to vote no, and it's not because I don't think that y'all need new press boxes and maybe scoreboards, but my duty as a board member is to the health and safety of our children first. And there are burning questions I have that I don't have the answers to. We paid $200,000 for a study that we're going to talk about later. And so I don't have the answers to those critical and poor items that were found. Have they been fixed? Is there a plan to fix them? I don't have the answers to roofs that teachers called me about that were leaking. And I just can't, in good conscience, vote to spend any time. And I realize this is not spending money yet, but even spending time until we, as a board, know where we stand on things that really are life and safety issues.
Scott?
I'm curious if anyone took the opportunity to go over and visit the press boxes?
I was out of town that week, so I did.
I've spent countless hours in those press boxes, and it is a safety issue. I have climbed stairs that I was afraid to climb as an adult, and I know children do that too. We host band competitions, all kinds of things beyond the sporting events that are done in those facilities, and they are not safe. And I, speaking as someone that spent the time in there firsthand, it is a health and safety issue. And we already heard the Irmo High School press box is 50 years old. And so I believe that our Irmo and Dutch Fork cluster definitely deserve what we have, maybe not exactly what we have at Chapin High School, but I believe they deserve some updates to bring them more in line with modern day sports.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
I entirely agree with you. It is the health and safety issues at both locations, and I strongly and fully support. I'll even go one step. I think they should be on par with what we have at Chapin. They deserve every bit of that at Irmo and Dutch Fork, and it has my full support.
Can I ask a question? This only it includes the scoreboards, and it doesn't include a scoreboard for Chapin. So if we're worried about equity, what's the plan for the Chapin scoreboard?
Oh, I thought Chapin had money for their scoreboard already. We just haven't voted
I
to
heard
approve it.
one of their boosters called me and told me they want to spend it on something else. So, and that they feel like if the district pays for scoreboards for these two high schools, the district should pay for their scoreboard too. So I'm just asking what's the
Then we might
plan?
have to eat the cost because we didn't approve it before when we had the opportunity, and they did warn us that could.
Well, we could add it here.
I would just
I'm
like,
going to amend the motion to
Hold on,
include
so
us.
Dr. Ross is trying to respond to that, and Ms. Barnhart.
all right. The motion is athletic school boards. It does not specify that we're excluding Chapin.
No.
So what happens is we're looking at a base board that with all of them, if Chapin wants to do more, then they can provide their
Okay.
gift. But I want to be clear, this does not say and
Oh, yeah,
not.
the slide also
Yeah,
does have
so
taping up there.
It has baseboards, and again, I think it's important for families to understand, this is feasibility. We still have to approve it.
Gotcha.
So,
Sounds good. Ms. Barnhart?
Yeah, I'm kind of really back and forth on this, but I do want to just say that I do believe that what Ms. Huddle said about making sure that we're taking care of some of the other priorities in the district is very important, because we have gotten a lot of information and really not a whole bunch of follow-up, but I do know that your team works diligently all day, every day to take care of some of this stuff, but I really would like to push that we kind of just follow up with what Ms. Huddle said when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I think that Irmo and Dutch Fork definitely should be upgraded. I have a kid that plays for Irmo, and I know that this is very important to a lot of the families in the community out there, so.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor, and it's been properly second. All those in favor? And motion carries 6-1.